Tonight, Trump went to one of the most diverse and Democratic counties in America, also my husband's hometown, the Bronx. Now, there's no chance Trump will actually win New York, but this rally didn't seem to be about that. It was about trying to gain support among that key demographic.
These millions and millions of people that are coming into our country, the biggest impact and the biggest negative impact is against our black population and our Hispanic population.
Trump has been trying to win over black voters ever since he ran in 2016. Do you remember his message back then?
What do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump?
Well, in 2016, he won 9% of the black vote. In 2020, it went up. He won 12%. In 2024, polls show Trump gaining 18%, with Biden slipping to 72%. Still overwhelmingly for Biden, of course. But in a race as close as this one, the margin in some swing states might be extremely critical. And, you know, President Biden knows that. And it's why he's getting more aggressive and maybe hitting back. This time by using Trump's own words against him in this new campaign ad.
Of course I hate these people.
Donald Trump disrespecting black folk is nothing new. He was sued for refusing to rent his apartments to black families and called for the execution of 5 innocent black and brown teenagers.
And it's more than anger, it's hatred.
Joining us now, Trump's former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, thank you so much for joining me. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well, Laura. It's good to be with you. Thank you.
I'm really glad you're here and looking forward to your insight on this because, you know, there was this huge rally today in the Bronx. It's a Democratic stronghold. Everyone agrees on that, where Biden did get more than 80% of the vote back in 2020. Why do you think the former president made this stop there now?
Well, I think he wants to make sure that people understand that he wants to be the president of all the people. He doesn't want to just choose one demographic and place them ahead of everyone else. And that seems to be a growing problem in our society, dividing people on the basis of race, age, income, political affiliation, religion, gender. And, you know, we need to stop it. And that was the atmosphere that I saw at that rally today. You know, we are one people. We're not this group versus that group. And if he can continue to work on that, I think it'll be wonderful for our country. It's not so much about Democrats and Republicans. It's about whether we are one nation, indivisible.
With liberty and justice for all, don't forget this part. However, on those issues of liberty and justice, those seem to be the points in which people focus on a lot of the disparities among the different groups of people that you have articulated. And certainly black voters, Latino voters, women voters, none of whom are a monolith. But there is a specific appeal that is made to what are the perceived policy interests of each of those groups. Why do you think that the support among black voters in particular is increasing for Trump since 2016, decreasing for the current president, Joe Biden?
Well, that's not just the case among black voters. That's the case among all voters because they're facing the same things. When they go to the gas station, you know, and fill up their car, they're feeling the pain. They're feeling the pain when they go to the grocery store. They're feeling the pain when they see the utility bills and their rent bills or their mortgage. And, you know, that is something that affects people, particularly when you've had a chance to juxtapose these two political philosophies side by side in recent time.
Do you think that there are particular policy interests that the former president, Donald Trump, should be looking at, particularly when it comes to black voters? I'll tell you that the former president has said that he thinks one reason that black voters embrace him is because of his 4 criminal indictments. And I'm wondering what you make of that, given the intimation that one's contact with the criminal justice system would be more prominently felt among black voters.
Well, he's making reference to things that have happened in the past in this country that we all know were markedly unfair. Is there still some unfairness? There is, but obviously that has decreased markedly. You know, just in my lifetime, I remember as a child going down to the Deep South and seeing whites and colored signs, and people saying, be careful about this and be careful about that and the other. And in the same lifetime, we have black admirals and generals and CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and heads of foundations and university presidents. We've had a black president. I mean, things have changed. Is it nirvana yet? No, it's not. But it's moving in the right direction.
Certainly what you describe, I know you mentioned it was not yet nirvana. I wonder how close we are to reaching any of those things. And certainly you are a scholar of history. I know that you are quite prolific in your ability to retain and convey it. And we have moved the needle in some direction. But there is still a lot of things. There are a lot of things in this country that do spell out that we are still a work in progress as a country. You know, I've always wondered this, Dr. Carson, because I've seen over time the way people have looked at race and politics, particularly with respect to Trump, that black supporters of Trump are treated differently and villainized in a different way than, say, even white supporters of Trump. Have you experienced that? And what is your response to those who wonder why, as a black man, you would support him?
Have I experienced it? Of course, because there are a lot of people who see anybody who associates with Trump as the devil incarnate. That's a very micro view of things. And we have to have a much broader view of things in terms of who has policies that work for you, who has policies that improve the prospects for your children, versus who has policies that increase criminal activity, releases repeat criminals into your neighborhood to threaten you and your children, lets people come in from all over the world, many of whom may be terrorists, to threaten your viability, has energy policies that are driving inflation, that are hurting you economically. Those are the things you have to look at. And more and more people, particularly in the black community, are starting to look at those things rather than being led around by the nose.
Many have been looking at those issues, and they still come to the conclusion that Democrats are in a better position to do just that. That's up to the voters in the end. Although I can't help but wonder, while I'm hearing you articulate different policy stances or questions in particular to ask, whether if you were asked to be the vice presidential running mate of Donald Trump, you would say yes. Would you?
I would prayerfully consider it, recognizing that there's a lot of baggage that goes along with that, and I have to make sure that my family would be okay. But I can guarantee you this, whether I do it from inside the government or outside the government, I will continue to focus my efforts on trying to bring our country together and to save it.
You know, several Trump allies on that very point have been asked this very question about the country and saving the democracy, or republic if you can keep it. Some have given a definitive answer, others have not. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to have your say. Will you accept the results of the 2024 election regardless of who wins? Yes or no?
I will accept the results if it's done in a fair and transparent way.
Do you have reason to doubt that it would be done in a fair and transparent way?
Well, let me put it this way. In the 2020 election, there were a lot of irregularities. I think everybody on both sides should be aware of that and should be working to try to satisfy that.
Well, the empirical, and frankly, I know that you're somebody who is drawn to that. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud that would have changed any result in the 2020 election. Does that suggest to you that the elections and our democracy remain intact?
The fact that there are so many people who are skeptical should raise questions for us. The fact that a country like France outlawed general mail-in balloting in 1975 because they said there were too many opportunities for mischief that just could not be controlled. These are all things that we should look at. We're smart people. We can put a man on the moon. We can figure out a transparent way that is satisfactory for the entire population, not for just one segment thereof.
Do you think that we shouldn't do mail-in ballots?
I think mail-in ballots for people who can't get to the polls are appropriate, but I think having an election season versus an election day is a mistake.
Why is that?
Because there's too many opportunities for mischief. And, when France changed their system, they have their results the same day or the next day.
That is true, although the United States has yet to endeavor to resemble France in the way that you describe. I will say, though, it does provide greater participation, and Republicans often have used mail-in voting as a feather in the cap to promote increased electoral participation. Dr. Carson, thank you so much for joining us this evening.